Introduction to Twinmotion Interface. In this lesson, we will discover the interface of Twinmotion 2019. Let's open up the program by clicking its shortcut, and there we are. First thing, you will see a pop-up window called Navigation. Here you can change the navigation mode of the mouse according to the software you are coming from, whether you are used to working with Revit, 3ds Max, ArchiCAD, Cinema 4D, or SketchUp. The mouse navigation will be the same, so you don't get confused. For me, I am a 3ds Max user, so I will choose 3ds Max. Now let's get familiar with the interface. Just like most programs, first we have a menu bar at the top here. This has three menus: File, Edit, and Help. File has the basic files and scene handling of opening, saving, and importing files. Edit menu has buttons like Undo, Redo, Copy, Paste, Delete, and Resource Collector, and other stuff. And also you can access preference of the program where you can change settings, quality, and appearance. In settings you can set preference for unit setup, whether you prefer to work with meters or inches. Timestamp, whether you want to choose time of the day using 24-hour mode or 12 hours mode. Reflection probes resolution, you have settings in viewport or at export. To control the reflections quality, you can set lower quality in viewport, and when it comes to rendering, it renders reflections at a higher quality. Custom passes is where you like user library to be saved. Its default is in Documents folder, but if you are going to add large amount of models to be there at the library, it's going to fill up drive C. In that case, you can change the location of where user library will be saved. Angle snap. For rotation, it is set to 5 degrees. Save. You have also an option to auto-save your files every 15 minutes. That will be helpful if the program crashes and you forget saving, so you will not lose your work. So, better tick it. Interval is how often you like it to auto-save. Number is the number of files to auto-save. So in case the program crashes, you will have one file from 15 minutes ago, and one from 30 minutes ago, and another one from 45 minutes ago. Path is where you're going to find these files. Default is also in My Documents. Better change it so it doesn't fill up drive C. I like to keep it with the folder of my current work and change it every time I have a new project. And export. Click on Reflection Update so the program will recalculate reflections before it renders. The next tab is Quality. We have 4 general settings of quality: low, medium, high, and ultra. That depends on how powerful your computer is, especially the graphic card and the processor. On my computer, it is default set to high. On other computers, it might be default set to low or medium or even ultra. You may need to decrease quality when scenes get heavy and working on them gets slower, but that will only affect the viewport quality. When it renders, it will be full quality. On the Appearance tab, we can change language, color interface, dark or light, and option to disable visual helpers, sounds, or info support. Footstep is the sound of walking when you output your game-like project, and the volume of that sound. Next, we have Help menus. It has link to the website, forum, YouTube channel, navigation options, shortcuts, and check for updates. On the left hand side, we have a small triangle. When we click on it, it expands the library of materials and objects. It's a great library, by the way, and we will get to know it in details in later lectures. On the right hand side, we have another triangle that expands layers and object names. In our scene here, we have two objects, scene graph and starting ground. By clicking on the eyes here, we can show and hide them. Down here, we have statistics of how your computer is performing at how many frames per second. GPU and CPU usage, file loading time, how many polygons in the scene, how many objects, and texture size. And here we have last image render time and last video render time. There is also a small eye icon here by which we can control daytime, navigation speed, snapshots, beam motion and VR, views, and clipping. We will examine this later in the course. We also have three dashes here that open up file and edit menus combined. Down here we have 5 small icons. Each opens up some possibilities. First icon is for importing files. Second one, called urban, that has context passes, camera align, and measure. We will learn about that later in the course. Nature, this is where we will control sun orientation, weather, lighting, vegetation, and ocean. Very powerful tools. And here we have media, where we can set up our shots, panorama, videos, and beam motion. And the last one is where to choose what to export from the media shots or videos that has been set. Lastly, in the middle here is the function of the selection, whether you want to move, rotate, or scale, or pick a material to edit. Let's jump straight into action by opening up the demo scene that comes with Twinmotion. Press on the 3 dashes, go to Demo Scene, Materials Room to open this file. Don't save this scene and let it load. Now we are ready to get some general idea about Twinmotion navigation and its capabilities in the next video. Navigation in Twinmotion. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to navigate inside Twinmotion. To do that, we will jump start to a finished project that is made by Twinmotion. The project is called Material Room. Material Room is simply a showroom project that most of the program features and library were used in it. To open the Material Room project, go to File, Demo Scenes, Material Room, and let it load. When the file opens, we can see this round room that has some outdoor landscape in the middle. If we scrolled forward with our mouse, we can zoom inside that room. And by click and hold the right click, we can look around that room. Middle mouse button, we can pan around that room. If we go to Help, Navigation, this navigation window will open. It's the same one that opens when the program starts. And we already set it up as a 3D Max. In this case, the middle mouse button function is pan. Alt plus middle mouse button is orbit, just like in 3ds Max. Additionally, the right click will look around. Here is some illustrations telling us how to move around. So just like video games, we use the arrows or the ASWD buttons. To move up or down, we either use page up and page down or Q and E. Let's close this window and try that out. So we zoom in and out with middle mouse scroll. Right click will look around. Middle mouse will pan. And if we press Alt plus middle mouse button, we will orbit around that object in the middle of the screen. Left button will allow us to select objects. Some objects, when selected, has their own preferences, and we will get to that in details later in this course. To navigate around just like in the video game, W will let us move forward, A to the left, D to the right, and S will move backwards. E will go down and Q will move up like this. Another very useful shortcut is the F button on the keyboard. When we select an object and press F, it zooms extend to that object, like that. First, we select the car, and then press F, and Twinmotion zooms in on it. Another important thing in navigation is the speed of the navigation. How fast are you moving inside your project? For small projects like this one, we will need to move relatively slowly, just like taking a walk inside that showroom. But for bigger projects like a compound or a small city, the speed of walking would not be that efficient. To change the navigation speed, we will press this I icon here, press the second icon here named Speed, and simply choose one of those three options. We can either move with walking speed, bicycle speed, or car speed. It is currently set to bike speed. Let's change it to walking, and by moving in our scene, we are walking with that slow speed. The other option is the bike speed, like this one. And this is the car speed option. Not efficient in a small project like this one, but very useful in bigger scenes. Let me get back to bicycle, as it is the most appropriate for our scene. Okay, let's say I'm moving with the speed of bicycle, and I just want to move faster for just a couple of seconds and get back to my speed. The shortcut to speed movement is Shift. So while I am moving forward, for example, I press Shift with the W or the forward button, and that will make me move faster. On the other hand, if I want to slow the movement down while moving, we can press Alt like this. And that's all about how to navigate inside Twinmotion 2019. General idea about Twinmotion capabilities. In the previous lesson, we learned how to navigate inside Twinmotion. In this lesson, we will take a general idea about Twinmotion and its capabilities. Let's open the demo scene material room and check it out. Let's select this tree and press F. Now, one of the very cool features in Twinmotion is that all trees and landscape elements comes pre-animated, whether it's a tree, a flower, or grass. They will all have a small motion like wind is blowing. Let's move inside the room, and here we can also see a pre-animated butterflies. So again, Twinmotion has lots of pre-animated animals in its library. If we select this sphere and press F, we can see a glowing ball that has a glow light material. We also have here spotlights that we can control. Realistic materials with bumps and reflections are shown to you in real time, unlike Max or other 3D software. Various mirror materials are also available at the Twinmotion library. If we take a look at the ground, we have a pretty much realistic interlock material, bumped, displaced, and real-time displayed. Metal materials are some of the amazing things that Twinmotion provides. The marble materials here are fabulous too. Pebbles on the ground are very nice too. And here we have glass materials with frosted glass or has patterns on it. We also have pre-animated people and other objects like these drones here, and later on we will learn how to customize these. On this wall we have plant climbers from the library, and we can add graffitis on the wall like this one. Street billboards, lighting posts, bicycles, seatings, benches, and more. We also have this section that shows us aluminum sheets and other metal materials. And by that, we have a general idea about what we can create inside Twinmotion. Before we end up this lecture, I would like to show you another very cool feature that will allow us to change weather, daytime, and sun position very easily. If we press nature here and go to weather, we can control weather with these two sliders. Whether you want it sunny, cloudy, rainy, or semi-cloudy. And let's say we choose rainy, whether this rain in summer, fall, winter, or spring. Notice when we let it rainy in winter, we will have a snow effects on our objects, and tree leaves disappears and snow fills the ground everywhere. It's that easy. Let's say we will stop the rain and move a bit to fall. You will see wind blowing faster and tree colors have changed automatically. Let's get back to clear summer and check out another very cool feature, daytime. When we press here, we have daytime controls. If we bring it down, notice it changes time of the day, and automatically sky changes and lighting units lights up. If we move it up a bit, it will give us dawn time with a yellowish sunlight and soft shadows. So for each time of the day, the whole scene lights, sky, and shadows changes accordingly. And that was some of the coolest features and options of Twinmotion that we can easily apply to our upcoming projects. Preparing 3D files. Twinmotion is a very good program for visualization, but it's not for modeling. If you have a project that you want to visualize in Twinmotion, you will first need to model it in another 3D program like 3ds Max, SketchUp, Cinema 4D, ArchiCAD, Rhino, or Revit. So before we import our 3D files into Twinmotion, we will need to prepare them first, so that our workflow goes much easier. In this lesson, I am going to cover the most important points that we need to take care of before we go into Twinmotion. I will be working with 3ds Max because that's my preferred software for 3D modeling, but the concept of these preparations applies to other 3D software as well. Let's get started. So here is a finished villa design project that we did earlier. Modeling done in 3ds Max and materials was V-Ray materials. Let's learn the concept of how to prepare this file. So concept number 1, apply materials placeholder. In our project, we need to have materials applied to our objects in the scene. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could only be just colored materials with no textures. But assigning a different material for each object will help greatly in Twinmotion, as all of these materials will be replaced by Twinmotion materials. So for example, this stair has a material applied to it in Max, different than that material of these steps, or this object, or the grass area. So each object will have its own material, so when I'm in Twinmotion, I will just replace it easily. The second concept of how to prepare the Max file is to have a correct UVW mapping for our object. That's how textures are applied to that object, so it'd be easier in Twinmotion to have correct material scale and UVs. For example, this grass area has a UVW of box with correct dimensions. Third concept, use the Twinmotion library for common objects. Twinmotion has a very good library that we can utilize to our advantage. We don't need to add shrubs, trees, lampposts, people, cars, or animals. All these are present in Twinmotion library, animated with good materials and all. One of the smart things to do is to have areas of different vegetation on different objects, so I can paint grass or shrubs on it later. Like this light color area, I can easily fill it up later inside Twinmotion with my desired shrubs. Most furniture as well, you will find a replacement to it in Twinmotion, unless you need a special designed furniture or objects like this shed that has a special design and dimensions. So we will keep it and we will adjust its materials inside Twinmotion. Same applies with the streets, parking sheds, parking doors, and so on. The fourth concept, be aware of the starting ground. Twinmotion has a built-in starting ground that covers the entire scene. This starting ground is at the 0 level, but if you have some stuff in your projects below that 0 level, for example, this swimming pool here, it will be covered by this ground. So in this case, we will have to delete this starting ground in Twinmotion and make our correct ground in Max. In our case study, I made this gray ground surrounding our project, and I made another far surrounding ground for the far surroundings. Concept number 5, the more organized in your workflow, the easier things will be in Twinmotion. If you are used to working with layers and groups in your 3D software and everything is organized, that will help you greatly inside Twinmotion. And yes, for V-Ray users, do not keep V-Ray proxy objects in the Max files. They will not be read in Twinmotion. And don't worry, not everything has to be perfect in this stage. We can easily adjust stuff and re-import them easily in Twinmotion later. And now our file is ready to be exported to Twinmotion. Twinmotion doesn't read Max files, so we will have to export our Max file to .fbx. Go Files, Export, and press Export. Choose FBX from here, choose where to save it, give it a name, and press Save. Default settings and press OK. Give it a minute to export. And you might get some warnings and errors that some V-Ray materials or lighting are not compatible with FBX and doesn't get exported. Just press OK. And now our file is exported at the saved location as FBX. We will now close Max and we will learn how to import that FBX file in Twinmotion and start our Twinmotion project in the next video. Importing FBX file. In this lesson, we will learn how to import our FBX files that we exported earlier from our 3D software. In our case, 3ds Max, but all other 3D softwares, whether is it Revit, Cinema 4D, ArchiCAD, or Rhino, has an option to export FBX files. FBX format is like the universal format for all the 3D software. Let's open Twinmotion and start our project. When we first open Twinmotion, it asks for navigation settings that we prefer. We will just press skip. Now we are in an empty Twinmotion scene. So first thing first, we will import the FBX, and Twinmotion knows that. So they made this big import button here for that. Click the import button, then this window appears. Here next to your file, press open. Navigate to where our FBX file is located, select it and press open. Leave the default options as it is and press OK. Give it some time to import, and here we are. Now our 3D model got imported inside Twinmotion, with all materials are just colors, with no textures yet. So everything is fine, but we just can't see our pool here. And as we said earlier, it's because of the default starting ground that comes with Twinmotion at the 0 level, and our pool is below that ground. So we will need to hide this starting ground and we already have our surrounding grounds made in Max. To hide this starting ground, we will first press the tiny triangle here that will open up layers and object list in the scene. If we just click on this ground like this, we will notice that starting ground object here is now highlighted. Simply, I can either click on the small eye icon to hide it, or I can select it and move it downward like this, so it becomes below our lowest point of the pool level. So here I have the starting ground, move it down. For me, I just prefer to hide it using this eye icon. Now we are ready to work on our project. Let's plan our workflow to go from here to a beautiful finished project. So here is the workflow plan. First thing we will do is that we are going to open the library by pressing this small triangle here. We will first start with materials. We will learn how to make it for our building, landscape, streets, and surroundings. Inside that folder, there are tons of amazing materials that we are going to learn about it in later lectures. Next, we will do the vegetation and landscape. We will take care of our gardens and the outer surroundings. We got tons of grasses, flowers, bushes, rocks that will make our scene amazing. Next, we will go into furniture, whether it's indoor, outdoor, or street furniture. We got so many cool stuff in here too. And then we have lights. It is optional if we want to make night shots and animations. We will get into that at the end, but we will finish our project's day shots first. And then we have characters, whether it's humans, animals, or groups. We have tons of pre-animated characters that are ready to give life to our scene. We also have vehicles, cars, boats, bicycles, motorcycles. We will learn how to add them and animate them too. So as you can see, our workflow will go step by step, making our scene better and more complete. After we get done with our libraries, we will move down to that area and we will start by importing even more stuff if in case we need special items that are not present in our library. Then we can move to urban, where we can fine-tune our scene, adding context, making pauses, camera align, and adding measures. Next, we will control nature in our scene, the right sun direction through localization, the weather, the lighting, the vegetation, and the ocean. We will learn all about them in later lectures. And then we will go into media, where we are going to prepare our photos, videos, panoramas, and BIM motion. And lastly, we will export our project into images, panoramas, videos, or BIM motion. So as you can see, it's a step-by-step process that will take us from start to finish, and we will start from the next lecture. Let's save our Twinmotion file now. Go to File, Save, go to the desired location, give it a name, and save. So let's start the amazing journey of visualizing our project in the next lecture. Improving workflow using handy tips and tricks. Now our project has been imported and we are ready to adjust materials and add objects from Twinmotion library. But before we do that, I want to give you some tips and tricks that will improve the speed of our workflow and improve our skills with the program. We will start by the eye icon on the right. When we press it, we have 5 small icons that controls our viewports. First, we have daytime icon. We can adjust at what time of the day we are working in. From here, like that. Let me leave it at 9 a.m. and go to the next icon. The next icon controls the speed of navigation, whether it's walking, cycling, or driving, and we talked about them in details in the navigation lecture. Next, we have this eye icon that allow us to take screenshot, beam motion, or work in virtual reality mode if you have the VR gadget. So when we press this camera icon here, or the shortcut F9, it will take a screenshot from where we are at and save it as a PNG image on our desktop. The next icon is beam motion. It allows us to check our interactive game-like mode called beam motion. We will learn later how to export our project into beam motion file and let our clients experience the design as if they are playing a game. So this icon will allow us to test it before export. And lastly, this VR mode. If you have the virtual reality gadgets like Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, but since I don't have these, it's grayed out. Another cool thing they add in version 2019 is the views icon. We can view our project from top, front, left, right, back, or custom. These views will look like architectural drone sketches, very helpful in designing. We can get back to our 3D mode by pressing the perspective icon here. Also in 2019 version, they added the option of clipping using this icon here. Clipping allows us to cut the building and look at sections. For example, let's go to the top view, go to clipping, adjust the clipping plane from here, and it takes sectional cuts in our building. For example, to show the first floor plan like this, or move it upwards to cut into the second floor plan. We can also use it in front or side views to get vertical sections of our buildings. If the clipping plane moves too fast with the mouse, we can adjust its position by typing its distance using the keyboard from here. Now that we learned about viewport adjustments, let's learn about object lists. Click on that small triangle here and it will open up the object lists. In the previous lecture, we learned how to hide the starting ground from here. Now we will get in depth of other options we can do here. First thing, we will find modern villa.fbx that we imported. We can easily hide and show it from here. If we click the arrow here, it will open up a list of all the objects inside my file. They are organized in groups as it was in the 3D software, so organizing stuff will make things easier. So this is a group, and inside it we have all these objects. Let's select an object in our scene using left click. We will find that this object is now highlighted in my list, and I can hide or show it from here. If it's difficult to select an object in viewport like this land here, I can go to my max file and know its name. For example, this grass ground here, its name is line 025. I will get back to Twinmotion, and in the search I will type line 025, click on it, and it's now selected. We can also isolate objects from the object list. Select an object and hover over its name, then 3 dots will appear here. Click them and we have loads of options that we can apply. Cut, copy, rename, delete, and so on. We can zoom to selection and we can isolate from here. It shows only the selected objects and hides the rest. Very useful if we want to work on this object alone. If we press the 3 dots, we can exit isolate from the same place here. Also, we can select this object, click on the 3 dots and press Add to User Library. In this case, it will be saved in Twinmotion library to be used later in further projects. Here it is. We can just drag and drop it. We can filter the object list from here, meaning now it shows all. But if we click all here, we will have all these categories to filter. The first category is object. That is where objects that came from FBX files will be present. Then we have furniture, character, vehicles, and so on. But these are the categories for the objects that we will be adding from the Twinmotion library. So for example, if we click vegetation, we will find the list of trees that we added in Twinmotion, and same goes with furniture and other categories. Let me go to the library and go to vegetation, trees, choose a tree and add it by dragging and dropping it to our scene. And let me click to add more trees now. These trees are added to the list of all here, and that list is so crowded, but if we choose to filter vegetation, we can only see our trees in the list. One of the very useful things we can do is to select the first tree, press Shift and click on the end of the list to select all. Click on the 3 dots here and choose Replace Object. The library will open. We can replace these trees with any of that in the library. For example, let's take Date Palm 2 and drop it here. And then press Start Replace. And voila! all these trees have been replaced. We can also change their size instead of multi to smaller or bigger. I can even replace those trees with another categories, for example, these lamps. But in this case, the object will move from the vegetation list to the furniture list. And now that we have some handy tips and tricks in our skills, we can start working on our project in the next video.